All right, everyone, we are recording. So just want to take a minute here and introduce everyone here that's on the call. We've got Joe Montgomery from MCS. We've got Nathan Stotts from True Tracking, and we have Mr. Jacob Sapp from Wire Ties. Myself, everyone, I think you know who I am. I'm Tom Keenan, Top Class Installations. I got the guys here together today for a little bit of a, call it a roundtable. And it's an issue that's been popping up on several conversations that I've had with guys who are currently on this call and other guys within the group, as far as the tracking provider, us, the installation provider being us, being responsible for coming up with a contract and kind of holding the end user accountable for certain things. A lot of guys here have been getting burned. You know, if you're doing contact direct work with a customer, you're scheduled for 10 installs, you show up and the guy has no work for you. If you're doing work for a GPS provider, you can usually submit a no-show. Or in this instance, what do? If you don't have a contract, you don't have a leg to stand on, literally. So I got a really stellar group of guys together here with me today because they've all handled this. They have vast experience with it. And I kind of want to get their opinions and see how others are doing it within the space. So hopefully what we can do here is educate other people in the group on some of the best practices that are currently being used by these guys who are on this call with me today. So that's it. I want to take a minute here. If you guys just want to speak up one at a time and introduce yourselves maybe a little bit better than I can, give the group a little bit of a background of who you are, what your specialties are, maybe what areas you cover. And we can take a minute here and start with Mr. Joe Montgomery, if you don't mind, sir.
Hey guys, Joe Montgomery, Mobile Contract Services. We're based out of Nashville, Tennessee, covering the Southeast for the last 18 years. Had a chance to work with Tom and some other individuals on this call in the past. So yeah, I was glad to be a part of this conversation. From the contract direct scenario, it is important that we start building contracts, even if only some of these smaller jobs that we get deployed, that we do. If it's going to be contract direct bill, it is imperative. Me and Tom spoke a few weeks ago, just kind of talking about contracts that we use, built or actually adding additional language for this. So it's a hot topic. I would say one of the things that we try to do the best, you know, even if we don't have a contract, it's a small job. If the dispatcher, if that person can ask a lot of the right questions and inform the customer about availability, that seems to go a long way. Customers tend to make their own rules once we show up on site, or have different expectations. You know, you've heard it all. I thought you were going to be here tomorrow. You know, you've heard every scenario. So it's a great conversation to have. Got some good notes here, but as far as an introduction, yeah, this is a great topic to start with.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Jacob, if you could just introduce yourself to the group and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, that'd be great.
Sure. So I'm Jacob Sapp. I'm based out of St. Augustine, Florida. I've actually been in the telematics industry for going on 20 years now. A lot of the older guys know me that have been around. I've had a contract business for a number of years in St. Augustine. It was originally, we were called Mobile Adrenaline, started out as kind of doing some car audio, got into the tracking, went with that. We had that business for about 12 years. I sold that business. Then I went on to work as a installation supervisor for Mixed Telematics for about a year and a half, and then for Green Road for a couple of years, overseeing all of the installs and things like that, and having to, you know, kind of mitigate a lot of these things with the no-shows, because as you guys say, it's, you know, the customers can certainly tend to make their own rules. Now, I found for me personally in the areas that I work in, it generally, like your smaller mom and pop, you know, your pest control companies, things like that, those guys, HC companies, typically whenever I schedule with them, give them confirmations, things like that, and they're pretty reliable. It's generally whenever we get into the heavier vehicles that we've noticed a lot of issues. And we do get a lot of that. We thought you were going to be here tomorrow, or, oh, I had to send the truck out, you know, sorry I didn't call, you know, or you get there, like Tom said, you may have 10 trucks and, you know, only one's available to you. Now you've got an entire day wasted. So just like everyone on the call, I think it's a great topic to discuss, something that we can share within the industry to just kind of move it forward and advance us a bit. So I'm pretty excited about the call, and looking forward to see what kind of things we come up with here.
Excellent. Thank you, Jacob. Nathan, sir, please tell us about yourself and what you do.
So my name is Nathan Sapp. I own True Tracking and Precision Fleet Support. Precision, we do harnessing for a lot of the OEMs as a tier 1 supplier. But True Tracking is my baby, which Thomas knows. we do a lot of different installs all over the country for, Mobilize, ONR, Drive Cam Analytics, you name it, we do it. I've been installing for over 15 years, MECP Master, all that fun stuff. So when it comes to TNCs and stuff like that, which me and Thomas were just talking about this past week at the truck show, we actually have a terms and condition form, no matter if it's one simple 3-wire or of a fleet of 800 vehicles. To us, it doesn't matter. I always find that if you don't have clear expectations with the customer when you get on site, because how many times do we show up and, you're told, oh, Bob is the POC, and you show up and they're like, oh no, Bob, he works in Idaho, right? And you're in Texas doing the install, right? So it happens every single day in our industry. So, we try to make sure that there's clear terms and conditions, point of contact, how long each install is going to take, no show fee, exactly what it is in writing. And we actually have them, it's clear as day in writing. And when we provide a quote and everything else, it's right in there. So when they sign the quote, they sign the terms and condition, they sign everything. So literally when it all comes back to it and says, oh, well, there's, you have 6 trucks and 4 of them are no-shows. Well, you're still paying for that time as if it was an install that was completed. Now, if it's a fleet of like 800 vehicles and they miss 6, I'm not going to bill them for 6 no-shows on a fleet of 800 vehicles, right? So, you have to use your judgment, take care of the customer, and that aspect is what we find. But every single job we do, it does not matter. There's a terms and conditions, and it also outlines our SLA. Like if you have an issue, we'll be there to respond within this much time. So it's not just take from the customer. We give and show them exactly look, you have an issue. We'll be happy to come out and take a look at it and see what it is, and if it's due to tampering, then we bill you. If it's due to something we did, then of course we eat that cost. So, I find that you have to be as clear as day, because I've done a lot of projects where they do the same thing. They show up, or they're like, oh, well, 6 of these trucks aren't available. There's no transmissions in them, right? You can't do anything. And then it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? So, yeah, we have a terms and conditions for everything, no matter what we do.
Great. That's excellent. So this conversation here so far is great. And I got a couple of questions that have already popped into my head. I have some answers for some of these because we're doing some of this within Top Class Installations, but I want to see what you guys are doing, because just as everyone else here in the group who's going to watch this is going to learn, I'm going to learn from it also. So my questions, and this goes to anybody here on the call. Number one, what are some qualifying questions that your dispatch team is asking prior to setting the appointment?
I can answer a few of those. So our dispatch team is instructed to confirm parts are on site. That's usually a general question. We try to go a little bit deeper than just parts on site. If they can send us a packing slip just so we can confirm the right parts were shipped, we try to do all of our due diligence to make sure there won't be a no-show based on parts. We actually had an incident this last weekend where it was set for 12 installs. Turns out that was 12 reinstalls. All the equipment was used. I would say we spent an hour or two before we even started just sorting through those used parts. I wouldn't consider that part of this process, but there could be a scenario where you show up, they think they have everything they need. Turns out their cables are cut. That falls into the no-show category in our experience. Sure. So as far as those terms and conditions that Nathan was explaining, we try to cover that scenario as well. That, it's not just that we showed up, the parts aren't available, but they're in disarray, and that's going to hinder us from doing our job or add a lot of additional time before we can even get started. The other common questions, vehicles on site always seems like a common question, but we've learned quickly, do you have the keys to the truck? It's a silly question, and does the truck have power? Those are two other qualifying no-show scenarios that are often the customer just overlooks that scenario. They just think, well, the truck's here. No one tells us it's been sitting on the lot for 6 months with dead battery. So right. They have to be in functional condition. Right. So, and probably the other biggest issue that we have is not having an emergency contact. The POC that booked the job, turns out he's on vacation the week we show up. There's no backup contact. Those seem to be the top three things that we could try to avoid with a dispatch call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you bring up a good point there. Thank you, Joe. And it's something that we run into over here on our end a lot. So, as you work for larger companies, a lot of times, I think Jacob touched on this before, when you call and book that work, you might actually book the installs, the repair, the service, whatever. You might book it with a main office that is out of state. So when you show up on site, your point of contact information that was given to you by the GPS company or the camera company might be for that out of state point of contact. And, at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, that doesn't do you any good when that number is his office number, which goes to a voicemail and you have no way to contact anybody. So one of the questions that we use heavily over here at Top Class is, who is the actual point of contact going to be at the location? And could you please provide us with their cell phone number, not just a work number, their cell phone number. And that's really saved our tail a lot.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I require. Particularly if it's contract direct. I mean, sometimes if you're doing it for the GPS supplier, it can be a little difficult. But particularly with contract direct, I require whoever I talk to give us a second POC, and they're also required to give us cell phone numbers. This way, because what we do is after we set up the appointment, 24 hours before, we will confirm, and then we will send them also a follow-up text that day when we are en route to the site. This way all of our bases are covered and no one can say, oh, I didn't know you were coming. But we've done the things we've learned, just like Joe had mentioned. We asked them, does the truck have power? Are there keys there? Is the contact actually going to be on site? If not, if that second POC is not going to be over there, then who's the third POC? So we try to cover all of those things that we can initially before we ever get into a vehicle to head that way. And it's not going to be, it'll still never be perfect, but we found it certainly does minimize a lot by taking those extra steps, in the beginning before the tech ever jumps in the truck. And we do let them know. We say, look, if we get there and your trucks aren't there, you will be charged a no-show fee. Whenever you start threatening them with money, either they'll A, want to get another installer, or B, they make sure everybody's there. So, and that's really helped a lot of that.
Yeah, I agree. And it also brings up a point that, not every customer is the right customer. And
Good call.
You can't do business with everybody. You're just not going to align. And that goes into a whole way deeper topic that we're not going to bother getting into today, because I think the one we have right here is a big enough animal. So Jacob, going off of what you said, some of the things that we do over here as well to help minimize no-shows is we've automated our appointment reminder emails. And if we do get a cell phone number from the point of contact, automated text messages go out to that person as well. Through our software that we use, Service Fusion, which I've done multiple videos on in this group already. I'm not going to dive deep into it today, but the software allows us to not only send out these messages automated, it also automates when the technician goes onto his app on his phone and says, I'm en route to the job, it kicks out a text message to the point of contact saying, hey, by the way, the technician is now on his way. Expect him on site at the set or scheduled time. That right there has been a tremendous asset for us, because not everyone checks their emails all the time, especially on the weekend. Or, a lot of these bigger companies, these guys are getting hundreds of emails a day. Yours might slip through the cracks. And what happens a lot with these emails or this text message that gets automated is it gets kicked out, and we'll get a phone call back to the office line almost immediately. Oh, hey, don't send your tech. I had to send that truck out last minute. Sorry. And, sometimes it's a 2 or 3 hour drive to get to that location. And if I can reroute a technician to go do something else, or maybe go help out somebody else who's got a larger project going on that day, it just saves us money. You guys have been in the New York area. You know what the tolls cost across the bridge. So,
So in scenarios like that, I would assume if they give you enough heads up notice, even though your TNC may cover, hey, we have a 24-hour cancellation policy. I'm sure you probably handle that with, not necessarily a no-show every time. It just depends on the situation. If the tech's already en route or already too far out of route that we've got money and cost involved, there's probably going to be a no-show. Scenarios like you were just saying, if you can reroute him to a job and keep him efficient for the day, you just kind of have to take some of those. We don't charge for all of those is what I'm saying. We try to treat the customer as fair as we can.
Yep. Yeah, same here. We you kind of have to look at them. Each situation is kind of its own little animal, which is challenging when it comes to systemizing or making a process out of the billing end of no-shows, because now you try and hand this off to, let's say you have someone in your office who's doing billing for you. How do you train this person to think and know when to or when not to bill a no-show,
right,
depending on the scenario or the situation? And there's just so many variables there. It's something that we've actually struggled with over here.
Yeah. And it may be fair to always bill. I'm just bringing that up. That's a topic we have frequently between dispatch and billing and myself. What do we waive and what do we always charge for?
Right. Yep,
Yeah, for us, it actually comes down to, again, we're the same way. We try to take it on a customer, case by case basis or customer by customer basis. What we do is a lot of times if they have a lot of trucks, everything's going well and they had a slip or whatever, it's a one-time thing. We'll try to make things happen for them and work for them. But if it's, you get those guys, of course, those customers that they begin to abuse that. So once they start to where, every second or third visit you're going out there, you're getting a no-show, then we start either billing them no-shows or we just elect to fire the customer. That's something that I think that you can never be afraid to do. And I understand it's a cutthroat industry and, everyone wants to get the work and maybe they'll find someone else. But, I think with a lot of things, it's still business at the end of the day, and you got to kind of stick to your guns on certain things. You do have to be flexible, obviously. But, when a customer begins to take advantage of that, you certainly have to be able to say, look, we just, I'm sorry, we're just going to have to agree to disagree and kind of part ways. And I think, for me, what I've seen that seems to be a lot of the issue with a lot of the installers. Are so scared that if they miss the work, then they're going to miss all the work. And in reality, that's just not the case. I mean, whenever you have a bad customer like that, they're going to be bad to everyone. And so you can either continue to waste money trying to chase them down, or you can move on and let them, continue to burn bridges. And eventually either they'll, someone will pick them up and they'll get their stuff together, or that, and in a lot of cases, they'll actually circle back around to you, and then now you have a little bit of power and control because it's not doing them any good to have this equipment that they're getting billed for, and it's not even in their vehicles. So but it does take a little bit to get them to realize that, because, all of this equipment to most of these people, this is I wouldn't even call it a secondary thing. This is way down on their totem pole.
Yeah. Yeah. We find that a lot too, that a lot of these companies are kind of like, oh yeah, the GPS, it's not that important. I'd rather go send my truck out who's going to make us $5,000 today than hold him back and, potentially lose that revenue for the business. And, as a business owner, I understand that at the same point in time.
I guess for us, when we look at things like that, you look at a lot of the competition in the marketplace, and, there's certain times where you do make, an exception, things like that. But to me, it's always about charge what you're worth, right? It's not a race to zero, right? Like there's companies who are like, oh, well, you missed 10 installs, whatever. It's, you're like, oh, we'll only charge you for 5 no-shows. Why? You got to send your tech. It's your time. It's your money. If that customer is missing a vehicle and you're not making money, you could have been doing work for another customer where you were making money, right? Because at the end of the day, if you miss a couple here and there, I get it. But do that, between 6 or 7 techs, miss 2 vehicles here, miss 2 vehicles there. Do that over a year. Then sit back and look at how much money you've lost as a business because you wanted to make exceptions all the time for consistent customers, right? Like, it's like Thomas said earlier that I think somebody else mentioned is like not every customer is your customer, right? Like there are certain customers that they wanna go the cheapest route possible, and we all in the industry know, there's companies that will do that because they're in the race to zero. But at the end of the day, like I would rather do less volume and be more profitable, and not run my tech 20 hours a day, and have and charge what we're worth and do it right the first time. So,
Yeah, exactly. And you also get better, more quality that way, in my
for
opinion,
sure.
because your guys aren't burning the roads, not really making any money. So yeah, and and at the end of the day, I mean, we're a B2B industry. So these guys, I mean, what do you think happens if they take their concrete truck out somewhere to dump, 10, 20 yards of concrete and there's nobody there? Somebody's getting a bill for that show. So, that it could be expected any differently. We should get that same thing. I think where a lot of it, another place that a lot of it comes from is you get all these GPS suppliers, and their big thing is to tout free installs. So when the customer sees a free install, they're like, well, shit, if I'm not here, I'm not here. Big deal. They don't realize the other side. So, it really comes down to just a lot of due diligence, ahead of actually showing up on site and making sure that the customer, the GPS supplier, understands that, we are a business. We're not just gophers. You know what I mean? We're here to turn a profit just like these companies are. So yeah, and it can be difficult, but like I say, I think a lot of it just comes with that due diligence to make sure that you're kind of, crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. And unfortunately, a lot of guys don't do that. They just want to, try to get it. Okay, it's scheduled. I scheduled it for 2 weeks out, so I'm just going to show up. And it's like, hey, dude, a lot can happen in a couple weeks or in a week or in 3 days. Yep. So you need to take that effort to make sure that vehicle is going to be there, so you're not wasting money and time, which is even more important than the money.
Mm-hmm. Listen, Jacob, you just hit the nail right on top of the head. And I was having this conversation a couple of days ago, last week, and I talked to so many people, I don't remember who it was, to be quite honest with you. But what you just said there was, what do free installs tell the end user about us? And I understand that, it's a sales tactic for the GPS manufacturers and the camera companies to go out there and say, all right, hey, buy my stuff today and we'll throw in free installs, or we'll roll it into the cost, or whatever it is. But, what is that programming the customer to think of us? We're of no value, and everyone here on this call knows that this is a skilled trade. We have years upon years upon years of in the field technical experience, some formal, some informal, under our belts, and we've spent countless money on, I know some of you guys on here probably have more money in tools than I do. And I know what I spent on tools. Not alone with the education that went along with how to use those tools properly. Here's another question for the group as a whole. So you guys have these TNCs, these SLAs, these service contracts, MSAs. There's 1,000 different acronyms for them. How are you getting these out to your customer? What are you doing to ensure that the customer is returning them on time prior to the appointment? And are you using any software to do this? Is it just, old school, let me attach a PDF to an email and hope that they're going to print it, sign it, scan it, and send it back to me kind of deal? Or are you using something more along the lines such as a DocuSign or a PandaDoc?
So for us, with our TNC, we have, it's all broken down. I'll send you a copy of it too, Thomas. But it's all broken down where it literally outlines everything from no-show fee to how long the average install takes, how many vehicles per day we need as a minimum, everything, how much time we give our technician for lunch, everything broken down in there. Because how many times you show up in the text, like the POC is like, oh, well, they said you could do 10 installs and, why are you taking a lunch? Like, you're not going to have time to do it. At the end of the day, you have to outline that because it takes care of your technician too, right? So your tech doesn't feel like he's getting burned and have to take on so much to try to fulfill the workload, right? So with us, it's literally outlined. It literally shows because they're like, hey, send us a quote or, send us an invoice or whatever. Before we even show up, I tell customers, like, I need you to print this, sign it, date it, send it back to me, and then we will get you scheduled. If they want their installs done, right, they're going to get it back to me because I tell customers right up front, I'm like, look, we're 2, 3, 4 weeks out sometimes, right? Sometimes we got these monster projects we're doing, which and I tell them, I'm like, look, at the end of the day, you want this scheduled. If you don't get this back to me, somebody's going to take that spot, and I physically will not schedule you until I have this back. And I would say, honestly, probably 95% of the time, I have it back within 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to be very clear, very precise with them, because if they're like, oh, well, I'll get this back to them, and you schedule it, you know, they're going to forget about it. They're going to delete the email. Your tech is going to show up, and then you're going to be jumping through all these hoops trying to hold them accountable for what you sent them. But they're like, I never signed that.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, it's a dog chasing their tail, because then it's like now you're in a piss and match with the customer. Now they're going to report it back to the GPS company or the camera company that you're doing work for, saying that guy's a jerk. You know, he's trying to demand this, and he's trying to demand that, and we never agreed to it. But if you have it in writing and it's signed, it's like, thanks for playing. Like, you know, it works well for us.
Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you a question on that now.
Yep.
Are you doing work directly for any GPS companies where you're actually billing the GPS company and not the end user?
It's the majority is probably direct to the end user. Most of the stuff we do is direct to the end user. Because, I mean, like, our customer base is a lot of, we don't, like, you know, I mean, we don't do a lot of three-wire stuff. A lot of stuff we do is going to be more like Smart Drive, Smart Witness, Mobileye, Drive Cam, things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're billing the customer usually directly, because we do a lot of manufacturer direct stuff. There is some instances where we'll bill, you know, a secondary customer directly and things like that. So it's a mixture for sure. But for the most part, we have no problem with them getting it back to us. So, because I tell them, like, we're not going to schedule you until we get it back. So.
Yeah, we do something similar where, you know, we'll hold an appointment and we'll put a hold on the appointment for 48 hours. If the point of contact or end user, whoever it is, who we're dealing with, does not get us a signed contract back within that 48-hour period, then that hold is released and we book up that appointment to somebody else. Realistically speaking, and this is a good thing, a good problem to have, you know, we're too busy to hold appointments open for too long. And what we've actually done was we've implemented DocuSign, and it's awesome. I'm actually going to do a video just on DocuSign in the group here soon to show people what the possibilities are. And it's allowed us to expedite not only sending contracts to the end user themselves, but when a company, let's say we go out there and we land a new camera company, XYZ camera company, and they send over a packet, PDF, hey, we need this signed, we need an NDA signed, we need a W-9, we need all this crap signed and sent back to us. We're able to take those documents, put them up in DocuSign, and I can have them signed and returned back to them within 5 minutes. I'm not printing anything. I don't have to worry about if my scanner bed took a shit again, because it's the worst piece of technology next to Bluetooth on the planet, in my opinion. Yeah, but it's definitely something that has allowed us to streamline that application. You know, we had a lot of trouble with. We get kickbacks the most from that customer, and Nathan, you were talking about this earlier. That customer, it's a contract direct. They call you up and they have one 3-wire install they want you to do. Like, all right, I'll do it, no problem. Just add it to one of my guys' days. It's work. So we still send these people a contract, and these are the people who are like, you know, send me a contract for a very minimal amount of money job. I'm like, well, yeah. It's the way we do things. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, the people before you have shown that not too trustworthy when it comes to this. And I if I'm going to send a technician out or block off a technician's time for that day, I have to be ensured that I'm going to be able to collect at some point in time. And, you know, you don't want to be a hard ass, but at the same point in time, you need to bring in money in order to keep the machine of the business operational and flowing. So. And DocuSign is not expensive. I think it costs us less than $300 for an entire year. I think it's like $279. So definitely recommend it. It took me about an hour or so to set it up, and it's been rocking and rolling since.
So we probably do 80%, 70 to 80% is our, you know, we work direct with the vendor, so we're billing the vendor. And I'd say 20, 25% or so we're actually doing direct bill. We actually picked up HelloSign this year, which is a DocuSign competitor. Similar scenario. It gets the paperwork back so much quicker. We don't have to worry about. I mean, it's as you know, or anyone who's using it, I'm sure most people are familiar. But you get real time updates. The customer received it. The customer signed it. I typically get them back in minutes on average. But just adding to what you said about sending off for the single 3-wire. Obviously, I mean, I'll be honest, we typically roll the dice on that. and you, I don't know if you guys have been burned on any of those. I haven't been yet, but like you said, do we do all this documentation for such a small amount? But it's not about the size of the job. At that point, it's about payment. That you're going to honor what we're doing here, and we can actually have some legal recourse if we have to chase you down for payment. So that's what that's about. Even if it's just a small amount, a single unit install.
Sure.
It does seem overkill. I mean, I understand that, but that's the world we live in now, especially with direct bill customers.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, it's totally overkill when you send them a PDF or a piece of paper that they have to print out and sign and send back. Because listen, let's just be real here. That's a real pain in the butt. But the technology of the DocuSign or the Halo sign like you're using has simplified this so much that,
right.
As far as I'm concerned, there's no excuse. You open the email, you click the button, and it says, okay, click here. Do you like the way your signature looks? Great. Press it and send, and it's back to you, like you said, within minutes.
Right.
I cannot make it any easier for the end user at that point. So this goes back to working with the right customer. If you're not willing to sign my contract, that's going to take you, I don't know, 30 seconds, maybe a minute of your life, just to ensure that we're going to do quality business with each other. Are you really the right customer for me?
Right. Absolutely.
So here's a question. And I'm sure there's various ways to do this, but how did you guys go about getting your contracts put together? Did you go and find an attorney? Did you go and do it yourself? Did you kind of take pieces of other contracts that you had seen and kind of put it together on your own and kind of Frankenstein it? How did you go about getting contracts in place that worked well for you? And along the way from its initial inception to now, have you updated or changed them?
I've definitely taken the Frankenstein approach. Tried to borrow from other companies. I've reached out to other companies in similar industries, but not exactly in our direct channel, just to kind of find out what other companies are doing. And I've received some great language to work off of. And yes, we do update it periodically. You think you've got every scenario covered, and then here comes a new one. So we do update it periodically. For the most part, it covers all the hard questions, and we feel pretty strong about it where it stands. But it's a work in progress. I mean, there's always some moving parts. One of the things that I don't quite have documented in there, because it follows more in the quote, and it is a question that goes with all this, is when you do have a no-show, whether you're billing the full rate for the day, whether you're billing a single unit, a certain flat fee for that no-show. I don't have any one particular way that we have it hard documented. I try to put that in the quote per job, because it often depends on distance for us or the project scope overall. But yeah, we do have a living document that we constantly tweak.
Right. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, I'm curious about the no-shows, what some of the people are doing here too. And again, it's kind of like situational, like we discussed earlier. Depending on the situation, it's a little different. But there's got to be some kind of. I wonder if we come together more as a group of people within the industry and say, all right, you know what, this is the standard. This is what it is. Enough of the BS. This is what the no-show rate is, and we just set it across the board for everyone, if that would benefit us in any way. And listen, that could be just the tip of the iceberg with us as a group of service providers coming together.
And like Jacob said earlier, it's based on time. I mean, you can make more money, but you can't make more time. I mean, you're wasting our time. So it's about recovering what we can from that day when that no-show comes across the line. So it's very important.
No, for sure. And it goes back to kind of like what I was saying a little bit earlier is, the race to zero, right? There's so many companies that are a race to zero. How cheap can I do it for that's cheaper than the next guy, right? And I kind of take the approach of when you go to get your oil changed, or if you go to get your car maintenance, if you go to get new tires put on your car, go to get new brakes put on your car, go to a dealership, go to a Lexus dealership, go to a Tires Plus, go anywhere. They have a flat rate no matter what. No matter what they're doing, they have an hourly rate or a flat rate. Like, If Lexus charges you 120 bucks to change your oil, whether it takes an hour or 30 minutes, it's a flat rate, right? And that's kind of how I try to live by. Like, they charge what they're worth. Right. At the end of the day, I feel like people in this industry are so scared to charge what they are worth. We are providing a service that not everybody can do, especially the more integrated vehicles get with data and everything else. Like, you're providing a service, right? If it's okay for somebody to charge a fee to change your oil in a Lexus and they're charging 120 bucks an hour, and we all know an oil change probably takes 15, 20 minutes in those cars, right? Why can't you charge your value of your company? Why are you so scared to charge what you're worth, right? And I find that a lot of guys who are just like, oh, well, we got to do this GPS for $35, right? You're going to be chasing $35 installs forever. And that's the hard part, is like, do you want to be a volume like Costco, or do you want to do premier work? Like, that's the choice you have to make as a company, right? So that's charge what you're worth, even with no shows, no matter what it is.
Well, and to add to the topic, and you nailed it. I bring that up to customers all the time. We're not just a service, we're a premier service because we come to you. We're on site. I took the time and the money and the cost to come to your site, so you didn't have to take your car down to get the tires changed or oil changed or to a GPS shop. We came to you, and that really adds a ton of value to the no-show scenario. If you want to take if you want to schedule an appointment for an oil change and you decide not to go that day, you probably don't have to cancel your appointment. You may, depends on where you're going. But in our scenario, it's a premium service, and as an industry, what Tom said, if we can kind of set a standard that this is a premium service, we are saving you time and money by keeping your trucks on the road as often as possible. So not only is it a service, I think it's a premium service.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, even to touch on that as well, is it's, premium service, it also falls under the category, obviously, of professional services. And any professional you go, doctors, lawyers, any of that, even though you're going to them, if you cancel the appointment, guess what? They're sending you a bill for that. Consultants do the same thing. They'll run, whatever their monthly fee is, and whether they show, you show or not, but they will do the same thing. If you waste their time, you're going to get a bill for that. And this is, it is a professional service. And I think a big problem that we have is, like Nate said, you have so many guys that are racing to zero. They're trying to take the Amazon approach. But the issue with that is it's so fragmented, and you get so many guys that kind of dive into this industry, and they were an employee somewhere making 15, 18 bucks an hour. So in their mind, they're like, well, shit, I'm making 35 an hour. What they don't realize is that they're damaging the entire industry by doing that. And obviously, so it falls on our shoulders to kind of explain, why we are a premium service when you get these guys. So I think a lot of it also comes down to you have to educate these new guys that are coming into the fold that were employees somewhere, and they don't really understand the business side of it. Now, a lot of it's going to come to the due diligence of their side. You shouldn't just dive into something not knowing, but the reality is people are always going to do that. If someone sees an opportunity, they're going to dive into it. The problem is they don't have the education or the knowledge to understand the pitfalls. So like you say, if there's a no-show, oh, well, I'll eat it this time, because when I come out next time, I'm going to do 100 trucks at my money. Well, after they have repeated no-shows or repeated this, that, well, then their margins are cut down so far. And then on top of that, they have to wait, 30 days. If they're lucky, they'll get paid within 30 days. But as we know, it's generally more like a 45 to 60-day type thing. So it comes down to that. Now, for the end user, a lot of times what we try to do is we try to tell them, look, if you're an end user, if you're a new end user, it's either, depending on who the company is, if we have any knowledge of them, it's either, the payment is due as soon as we're done, you've got to cut a check, or, at the most, we'll give you like a net 7. Once you've proven yourself and shown you can do things, then we can give you better terms and things like that. But again, I think it really comes down to, with, like we say, the race to zero and all that is just being so fragmented and so many guys coming in new that just don't have knowledge relative to what they were making before, because all they're looking at is that gross. They're not looking at the true net of what's happening. They're just looking at the gross, and it just kind of really affects the industry. So, I think a lot of that comes down to, as guys that have been in this industry a long time, I think to some degree it almost falls on our shoulders to kind of build a standard. so we can have those flat rates, because I am in full agreement with everyone on this call. But I just think there's a lot of touch points that have to be hit before you can begin to maximize that profitability and that understanding from the end user of how the game really works.
So the comment on what Jacob said, like that's great. Like, and the big thing he mentioned is, you had that one no-show, and now because you're hoping the next 100 vehicles or 50 vehicles are going to pay you out, right? And because they got that one no-show, you're going to do the next 100 vehicles and make your money out, right? But here's the question. What happens if that one no-show, right? And that customer like, oh, they're no-show, I'll make my money next time I come up. What happens if they're like, oh, well, we're not going to move forward with that GPS provider anymore because they hurt us, or their service doesn't work great for us, or they found somebody that's $10 cheaper per unit than you. Like, all that stuff can affect you in the long term, right? So it's like, especially if they're playing that game. So I agree. I think a standard in the industry with straight flat rate pricing, or having it where, we all know, certain companies want to undercut and certain companies want to play that game. But at the end of the day, like, for the independent guys like us, it's great. And it's, when you have contractors and stuff like that, or anything like that, when you're billing a no-show, right? Or you're not billing a no-show and you're like, oh, I'll eat it this time. You still have to pay the tech for their time, right? You're still losing money as a company like that, because you can't just tell your tech, well, it sucks to be you. I know you went out there to do one truck and he never showed. Like, now you don't get paid for the day, like, because you can't bill that no-show. So, like, when you guys are talking about doing the DocuSign and stuff like that, because a lot of the customers we do are direct business to business like that, we do a credit card authorization form at the same time we do our T's and C's. So literally, it's fill this out. Here you go. This is what you're telling me. You got 35 trucks at X amount of rate. This is what the invoice total is. Now, if we have no shows or anything else, like it says right in our T's and C's, like, we're billing for the full amount. We're billing what that credit card authorization form says, right? And that's what we reflected off. So, because we base our time on how many installs my guy can do per day, plus expenses, plus labor and everything else, you factor that into that amount. So when we do the credit card authorization form, like, it's very clear there, like, this is what it is. Now, once you establish consistency with us, like what you mentioned, right, Jacob, is it's like, once we have a good relationship with somebody, it's like, okay, we'll give you net 30 or we'll give you net 45, right? But when we're first building that relationship so we don't get burned, it's all credit card authorization form. So we've established that relationship where I know, okay, these guys pay on time, their credit cards never bounce, like, they've never had an issue, like, they're consistent. We've done 2 or 3 jobs for them now we'll put them on net 30, right? So it's just developing that consistency, right? And we bill them the moment the job is completed. We don't bill them before. We bill them the moment it's done. So, yep.
A lot of similarities there, Nathan, with what we're doing as well. So we have an addendum built into our contract that basically is a credit card authorization form. So we will take that credit card information. 99% of the time it's there. The moment the job is done, we run a credit card. And we actually prefer to do it that way most times because it's just cash flow. So the fact that I'm able to charge, granted, I'm losing a small percentage to the credit card company, but the fact that my cash flow is now better because I'm able to charge that credit card immediately upon the work being completed is a bonus to me. There are some customers, however, that say, "Hey, we're doing work for a local school district. We're doing some camera work for one of their buses, and we're billing them direct." And they basically said, "Hey, look, listen, we're issuing you a PO, and we don't pay by credit card. It's a check, and send us the invoice, and within 30 days we'll pay you." Okay, it is what it is. It's part of the business, But again, you're dealing with a school bus or school district, not Joe's HVAC who opened up yesterday and might be closed down 30 days from now.
No, it's
Yeah,
good.
been there.
It's a good way. I think we all have.
Yeah. I had a job, a company, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. They had like 50 trucks. We went out and did some installs, and I'm riding by the building about a month later, and it's dry, nothing. I was like, damn, that was quick. So fortunately, we got our money before all that happened. But yeah, it is amazing how quick a company can just be gone.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. Well, gentlemen, I don't want to keep this too long. We're almost at about 40 minutes. What I want to do here now is just give you each a chance to just go around one last time and let everyone here know in the group how they can get in contact with you, what things your company specializes in, and hopefully, maybe we can get you some more extra work over to your company in your area to keep you guys busy. So let's go around the table again here. Joe, if you want to start, that'd be great, sir.
Hey, skip me for just a moment. I'll be right back.
Got it.
Sorry.
Jacob, how about you?
Yeah, so as I said, I've been in the industry for quite some time. I've kind of seen it from all sides. We're based out of St. Augustine. We primarily handle North Florida, Central Florida, Southeast Georgia. We are beginning to expand into some other areas, dash cameras, GPS. We kind of do whatever is required in a vehicle. We've always tried to put our game face on, and we're, always more than willing. Now, I handle the the Florida and Georgia area myself. So, I'm not only owning the company, I'm the guy that is the boots on the ground to make sure things go correctly. And right now, that's why I'm out in Salt Lake City now. I'm training a guy to handle some work that I've been able to build in this area. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty much open to working with anyone and everyone that is professional and wants the job done correctly, and that can work together well. So, we can be found at, you can contact me at area code 904-501-6268. That's that's my mobile number. We're also, jacob.sapp@wiretize.com. That's WIRETIZE, all one word. And then our website, of course, is wiretize.com. And you can also fill out a contact form there. But yeah, anyone that ever needs any help, particularly in the areas that I'm at and some of these other areas as I grow, I will be more than happy to share those. We do a pretty heavy vetting process. I'm not just one of those guys that brings people on and, yep, I've got a guy there. I actually make sure they know what the hell they're doing. And just anything we can do to improve the industry. Anytime anyone has technical questions or any kind of questions or how do you handle this problem or that problem, my line's always open, and I'm more than willing to talk and discuss and help anyone out and throw ideas back and forth anytime I can. And I try to keep myself extremely open-minded. The way I look at it, as long as you're alive, you should be learning. So, I'm never gun shy with sharing my opinion or receiving others' opinions as well. So yeah, anyone needs me, feel free to reach out, and I'm more than happy to help.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Hey, Devin, you on this call, sir? If so, I'd like you to do the same thing. If you can tout your business a little bit and let people know how to get in contact with you, that'd be great.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yep. Devin Warner, Metro Mobile Electronics. I can be reached cell phone 469-628-5183. Email is Devin, DEVIN, at M as in Mary, E as in Echo, GPS.com. Basically, telematics, video telematics technicians nationwide from California to New Jersey. And, work with all the big players and a lot of private fleets as well. Do a bit of a custom work when folks need help, but also all the basics and get new products out there for them as well. So
great, Devin. If I had to ask you a question on what's your sweet spot, what do you think your company does best? What would you say that is?
I would probably say the quality of our work. We're used pretty extensively to go out and clean up the messes that other folks leave out there. So we're known for the quality of work that we do, and we like to touch them once, walk away from them, and not have to go back there again. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems to be a common trait among the people on this call that same thing with us. Our whole career, myself and Jimmy, my partner, has kind of been, and this goes even back to the car audio days. We're just fixing other people's mess ups, So
Clean up crews.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Joe, you
well,
ready?
and yeah. I think it kind of goes back to what he was saying earlier about these guys. They bail out. They used to be one of our employees. They bail out and they see that huge dollar sign per install, and it's clearly they're not looking at it as a business. They're looking at, what do I get right now today? What is my paycheck going to look like? And yeah, they're kind of making a mess, and we're the guys that are in it for the long haul, and we're the ones that get called in to clean it up. So
it's very true. And to kind of go off of that too, I had a note here I wanted to mention earlier. And one of the things that I feel is since a lot of us here on this call do work for the telematics provider or the camera provider, a lot of times we go into a meeting with them or a situation with them, and hey, Brian, and we're told, hey, you know what? This is what we're going to pay you for this work. Take it or leave it. And it's kind of ingrained in our heads that this is an acceptable price, whatever the price is. I don't care what the price is, but hey, this is what we're telling you is acceptable for this work. And that may not necessarily be the case. I mean, if you went and actually did that work yourself, contact direct, you might be able to bill for more money. Going back to what Nathan said before, you know, when you're billing the customer directly, you now control the game. You can now go in there and charge, you know, what you feel is the right rate.
Yeah, and honestly, in my experience, you can work directly with the end user. Many times things go much smoother because you don't have that middleman. A lot of the prices are set by people that have really never even installed the product. They've seen one or two and they say, oh yeah, it takes about this long to do it. But, you know, again, they're not factoring in the coordination time and the locating the equipment, locating trucks, keys, all of those things. So, you know, I think for the end user, many times, I mean, how many times have all of us been onto a site, and, you know, and once you're there for, you know, you walk in and they're raising hell, cussing everybody, doing things. And after you're there an hour or two, they're shaking your hand, thanking you. And, you know, kind of that, where have you been all my life type scenario. And the end users are much happier. So I think and I think eventually the industry will evolve to the point where the GPS suppliers aren't in the middle so much, because it's time consuming for them. It's costly for them. You know, any of these guys, it's either they have a dispatcher and they send it out. Okay, let's send it out to our preferred guy, give them 24 hours to respond. If they don't respond or they decline it, now we send it out on another 24. And this is all kicking into the SLAs while the customer's sitting with a down truck, you know, and things like that. Or like some of the companies that we know of, they get on the phone and they go down the list and make a phone call from, you know, to find out who the first guy is. They may get that guy on the first call, but they may have to sit there on the phone for 2-3 hours, 4 hours or more before they actually find someone that can do it. So, you know, I think the industry will evolve into that. You're starting to see that with some of these suppliers that are beginning to allow more contract direct type work. And I think that's going to be a benefit. So I think now is really the best time to begin to develop a sort of a standardized setup. Now it may not be, or pricing, it may not be nationwide standardized. It may be more regional, but at least so this way all of the real pros are on the same page. And then if someone wants to come in and undercut you and do it for way cheaper, you know, and then the customer, as we know, the majority of the time they're going to be very unhappy. So, you know, I'm kind of looking forward to it, and hopefully we can be a little bit ahead of the curve and come up with some of these things. So when these new guys come out, you know, they understand, look, this is how it's done. And if you truly want to compete, you have to compete in this manner. And if you can't, then, you know, you need to move on to something else.
Go back to work for somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think you said something very important there, which is, you know, if you're going to go and this contract direct stuff is kicking up right now and it's getting more popular, you need to go out and you need to put the systems and processes in place that are these contracts, you know, your T&Cs, as Nathan calls them. I never heard that term until today, by the way. You know, and you have to have this stuff in place. You have to have the documentation in place, because when the industry switches over to this full time, where it's the norm, if you don't have this stuff in place, you're going to be left in the dust. Because here's a group of guys that is already doing this. We already have the contracts in place. We're already billing the customers directly. We already have systems and processes, and I'll call them safety nets in place in case there is a mess up at the job site. You know, if you're that new guy coming in here who thinks he's gonna rock it, and you don't have any of this stuff put in place, good luck. Good luck. So anyway, we got a couple other people here. Some guys came in late. I apologize that we weren't able to get to everyone here. But like I said, I don't want to keep this call too long, because I find that people don't really pay too much attention to them if they go too long. So let me switch back over to Joe Montgomery from MCS. Joe, if you could just please share with us how someone can get in contact with you if they need your services or your crew specialties for anything. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. A mobile contract services, you can reach me on my cell phone direct at 615-516-4627. Our office number is 877-602-9477. Our website is gpsinstaller.com, and you can email me at joe@gpsinstaller.com. We're based in Tennessee, started in 2001. I'm a 30-year veteran in 12 volt, started in 1989. This is what I love. This is what I enjoy. And that's why I'm still doing what we do. We have a smaller team. I've had a much larger team at one point, but we are a Southeast regional company. I've expanded further north, further south, but we touch Tennessee and every state touching Tennessee. That's our coverage area. And that's where we're comfortable. And that's where we are. Almost everybody that works for me is a W-2. We all drive company vehicles. We try to do a solid presentation for the customers, uniformed employees. To me, that's the key of creating a professional appearance and a professional experience for the customer. And we specialize in pretty much the same scenario as most people here. The telematics industry, the GPS telematics, definitely, camera telematics. Definitely what we do. Anything 12 volt, but we'll do everything from your small fleets up to your large yellow iron heavy equipment. So, yep, that's what we do. Glad to be a part of this group.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. Hey, Brian, since I got you here, you came in late, but
Brian's a screw up. I got into a meeting. I couldn't have my phone, so I went with my trusty watch, who's on daylight savings time. and I feel like an idiot. I apologize.
no worries. Well, we got you in here. So could you just tell us a quick overview about yourself and ITG and how people can get in touch with you in case they need to utilize your services or your team's expertise?
Absolutely. I'm basically a photocopy of what Joe just said. But I'd say the key difference with us is we specialize in deploying nationally, like on long-term routes. So we'll do deploy. I'd say we average per year about 40 to 50,000 installs. So that's a lot of guys staying on the road for a very long time. We actually support a lot of installers who get large jobs but do regional work and just they don't have the infrastructure for a large deployment. So what I work out with them is why lose, 100% of nothing is nothing. Take a percentage of what we can negotiate for the job, and I'm happy to give it. So if you're doing the sales, you're doing the contract.
Please charge.
You're doing the negotiation, and I'm just a part of the process, maybe obtaining the consumables, then I'm happy to just work with you on the schedule. We go and roll it out, and it's a win-win. It's something I really didn't think would get the traction it has, and it's something we've ended up specializing in. And so obviously we do regional work. We're out of Florida, and but the long-term deployment piece is the stuff that we've really had a lot of success in. And we'll do the same thing from regular, four-wheeler fleets up to any kind of yellow iron, like the mining equipment you've done recently. We've done a ton of that. My email is bstaley, STALEY, at ITG Ocala, OCALA.com, and my number is 352-266-3193. And I'm happy to, and if somebody needs help working through a larger deployment that's outside that normal scope, we'll help them with that. We know all the costs, we know all the right questions to ask, we know, and that's where the whole point of, ironically, I'm the one who asked for this, the information on this meeting, and I'm the last one on the call. But it's building that side of it that we're looking to strengthen up. Is how do we protect as a group, protect ourselves? Meaning, somebody brought up the customer, the on-site person yelling and screaming, and a job can go sideways very quickly. How do we build those things up when we discuss them on the front end? Then we also protect ourselves on the back end by having those expectations outlined in those contracts.
Mm-hmm. I agree. You bring up some great points there. I appreciate you joining us today, sir.
Thank you.
And I believe we have Mr. Nathan Stotts to wrap us up today.
So, my My phone number, easiest way to get in touch with me, is area code 585-305-7260. Email is nathan@truetracking.com. Kind of mirrors what everybody else has pretty much been saying, right? Our whole business model, even says it on our business card, is do it right the first time, right? So, we specialize in big deployments. We're nationwide. We have 2 offices, one in Seattle, Washington, one in Jacksonville, Florida. We specialize in everything from Mobileye to DriveCam to Smart Drive, you name it, we do it. 3-wire stuff, we do it. As Thomas knows, Mobileye is kind of like our big thing. We do a lot of. We actually own another business called Precision Fleet Support, where we build actually T-harnessing and everything else that works for Mobileye and any other product you could think of that literally makes the install plug and play, where you don't have to modify any wiring in the vehicle, And the biggest thing I've kind of implemented over the years in my techs is I've always been a firm believer, because I've been installing for 15 years professionally. My whole thing has always been like, however good you take care of your tech is how good they're going to take care of your customer. So if you don't care about your tech and you just throw them on the road, nonstop, which some guys love, but it's like work 15, 16 hours a day and just nonstop and burn them out. Like, they're not going to care about the relationship they have with your customer. And that's just kind of how we've built our business model, is just, do it right the first time. We don't Band-Aid installs, things like that. So, that's been why we're in the position where we're a tier 1 supplier for OEMs and, everything like that. So if you guys ever need a harness or you ever need a solution, or you have a question about something in a vehicle, Thomas knows I get pretty good access to, a lot of vehicle information before a lot of others. So if you need something or you have a question about where something is, more than likely we usually have the information. So we're always willing to help. And, my biggest purpose is just to always try to help further the industry, right? Nobody knows it all. It's all about building a team and, building this group where, people can bounce off ideas and help strengthen each other's business, right? So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And thanks again, guys, especially thank Nathan. Hold on a second here. Let me back up. I guys want just, if you have any vehicle, any need to know where to grab power in any certain vehicle, just reach out to Nathan, because I bet you he knows it, and it's all here, even on the new vehicles. And I've seen some of the stuff he has on his phone with his documentation, and that goes to a whole other level of, oh my goodness. So I can't say enough about this guy. I've only met him once in person and recently, but the amount of knowledge and skill set that he's shown me in that short time is unparamount in this industry. So if you guys need some help with wiring, where to grab things, factory style connectors, Nathan has this stuff. We're considering, doing some stuff with Nathan as far as, a lot of times we'll get a large rollout, and sometimes even if it's just a simple 3-wire install, if I have 50 3-wire installs and I can use a plug and play harness that a 20-minute install and now turns it into a 7-minute install, I have no problem paying the money for those parts, because I just tripled the productivity of that installation technician for the day.
Yeah, me and Thomas were talking about that. You look at connectors like Packard plugs, Kenworth plugs, Peterbilt plugs, International plugs. We build all that stuff in house too. So it's like, and for what you pay it at a dealership or through another third party, stuff like that. Guys on the forum, I always hook them up, right? Other industry people, that's another story. But it's one of those things where pretty much if you need something, or you're like, oh, this is a 2020 Volvo or 2020 International, and you don't know where to get something, like Thomas said, everybody on this call, feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. I usually have access to a lot of that info. So.
Awesome. Guys, thank you all for taking some time out of your busy days. I know everyone here is super busy. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge, and this is going to definitely help some people within the group and further our industry. So again, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the very near future. Have a great day.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Indeed. Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure, guys.